From the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 4 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
everybody dance in the air. Let's go there. All the champions dance in the air. Everybody dance in the air. Dance in the air. We are champions. We are champions. We are champions. We are champions. Champions say hallelujah. 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 Over and over again we see the touch of your greatness, Lord, in us. Oh, come join me, sing now. Let's celebrate together. Come join me, praise now. Let's jubilate together. All the champions and sing everybody and sing Let's go.
Yes, we are champions. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our ethics program, Ethics for an Emerging Ambazonia. And today, the 15th of September 2023, we have a great team with us here in the studios, and we will be bringing to you a number of things that we need to know, especially touching what is presently going on. This year, Ethics for an Emerging Ambazonia is spotlighting on ethical issues plaguing Ambazonians at home and abroad. The more Ambazonians engage in discussions on ethical issues now, the better for our chances for an excellent short transition period past recognition. Applied knowledge and the right mindset is the most powerful force in the nation building. There is no liberty without morality. We are equipping ourselves with the necessary knowledge and molding the right mindset during this period of war. At this moment, I will want to, first of all, before we get into discussion points, I want to call on one of our panelists for the past 2 weeks that we had our ethics, in the person of Dr. Tom, who will get in and bring to us a summary of what happened last week. But before then, let's get the panelists introduce themselves before we get over to Dr. Dom. I will start with you, Barrister, to come into the studios with me, briefly introduce yourself, and then take your seat, and we will be getting back to you after Dr. Tom introduces himself. You're not hearing? Okay, all right. Okay, it is your...
Louder.
Barrister, go ahead. It's time for you to introduce yourself. You are not getting me?
Yeah, you are so low. I couldn't get you. Anyway, I got you now. I'm here. Thank you for having me. I guess by now everybody already knows me. I'm Barrister Mbese. I feature here all the time, and my role is essentially educational. We educate our people, we educate the world, we educate those who are us. So they know where we're coming from and where we're heading to. As far as ethics is concerned, we try to build the moral fabrics of the society. Not today's society, today and for the future. Thank you. I hope somebody will gain something from the discussion.
Thank you very much,
You.
Dr. Tom. Just introduce yourself and then we get back into the hall.
Yeah, good evening, Pastor Commando, fellow Ambazonians. Greetings, especially to our people on the home front and most especially our brave Ambazonia Restoration Forces. My name is Tom Dola. I'm from Ngokutunja County, Babisi LGA. I'm the Vice Chair of the Ethics Commission led by Maduro Tingwa, who is the Chair. So I'm happy to be here today once more to talk about pertinent issues concerning ethics about our independence quest, our soon to be granted independence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And this is the team that is on board today to educate us, to give us knowledge, to advise us, to warn us, and of course, to make us know exactly who we are and where we are going. Without much and any further ado, we will ask request Dr. Tom to give us a recap of what we did in our last outing on ethics for an emerging Ambazonian. Dr. Tom, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Commando. Well, in this 7th year uh, of our fight for independence, and yes, in the 6th year of the restoration of our independence, pending acceptance by the powers that be, by the United Nations, we had 2 weeks ago and another show talking about how the constitution, the functioning and the duties of a transitional government when we soon get to Boya, how that will be set up, how what is expected of it, how long it will last, and so on. So the first part of it was to see how that transitional government will be constituted. Mind you, we have the interim government now, the executive branch led by President Samuel Komesako, with 3 arms of government: executive, led by the president, who is the overall commander-in-chief of the armed forces; the interim House of Representatives, led by Ma Winnie Lobati; and the judiciary, led by our very own barrister Tim Beseha, who is here with us today, and very, very resourceful, very helpful. He was there last time also. And the judiciary arm, we of the Ethics Commission work closely together with the judiciary. So these are the 3 arms of government. That's the structure, how we have it, what we have now. That is the interim government in exile. When we soon have our independence and get to Boya, this interim government will function according to the interim constitution for 3 years and have that time to hand over power to a transitional government, which will not be this interim government, but a government made up largely of people from home front and of course from those of the diaspora. So the question was asked if a transitional government will make Omar Ambazonia, and was said it depends who gets into that transitional government. of course, we see people today who call themselves leaders, but are against whatever form of unity, whatever form of collaboration, seeing that the interim government led by President Sako, which is supported by the absolute majority of Ambazonians on home front and in the diaspora, they don't see that as the legitimate government. Is unfortunate. Just some few groups are straight led by people who I would say are not really fit to be leaders in such circumstances. Of course, such people who have been showing counter-revolutionary behavior and at times even collaborate with our killers, the La République regime, will not be eligible for government. And the constitution will have to be solid, those of good moral standing who've been proved here in the diaspora and on the home front, so that the government should function. So, but overall, it was decided, the transitional government following those guidelines will be a plus, a big plus for our independence, because the independence we've so fought for over 61, 62 years, we will not take it lightly. When we get down there, we'll be very, very strict on our leaders. So, and then the transitional period will be a period of great scrutiny. As I mentioned earlier, people whose character, whose leadership skills have been tested during this our 7 year of a government in exile will and found good and suitable for leadership will be the ones to lead. Of course, not only those in diaspora. A large chunk of our people will be those on the home front. Even now, as their lives are in danger and we don't want them to expose themselves, we know people who work with us on the home front who are truly for the revolution, and we of course cannot ask of them to disclose their identity and be vociferous about our independence quest, which could cost them their lives. So that period will be a great period of great scrutiny. And then it was talked about that the common man on the street will have a big role to play in selection process to fill vacancies. Well, here in the diaspora, we have our leaders, the country heads, regional heads, the county heads, and the department heads, who were either appointed for those in government, in the executive branch of government, or voted into office by their people in the various counties and LGAs and so forth, and countries and regions by those in the diaspora. And when we are back home, everybody, of course, the absolute majority, and the most important part of this of our struggle composes of people on the home front, and they, each and every one of them, will have a say in selecting our future leaders. One person, one vote. No favoritism. It doesn't depend on how rich or influential you are, like in the case in our killer regime, the La République regime, with whom we've been having an unholy alliance for over 61, 62 years. And those who have been corrupted by that system and have turned into enablers, La République agents and collaborators will of course not be eligible to hold any office in the future transitional government. And a special emphasis was laid upon our youth, that they will be well taken care of, and they should enter into our independence quest while being here in the diaspora, of course, on the home front also. And our restoration forces, they are our future police force, army, gendarme, gendarmes is some colonial term, and prison guards, and so on. So that is what I can recall that was talked about last 2 weeks, except it's various routine, those of certain things that I've forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that elaborate summary of what was done and what was taught to the Ambazonian people last week. We're making this re-echoing so that our youths should not think that they are getting missing, and that they should make sure that they sit up and join the crew of what is going on now in Ambazonia. All right, we have 6 discussion points on our agenda today, and I will not want to. Oh, before we go, may I ask Barrister, you have something to add to the summary of what has just been said for what happened to the last
No,
session?
no, unfortunately, that's a good summary. That's fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's go. Today, in our discussion points, we have about 6 of them, and I'll quickly go one after the other. Looking at nations currently having problems and those that are faring well, we see that how personal funds influence the system is a key difference. How will you advise Ambazonians so that power should not only be for the rich? What will you say to all the Dampolos in Ambazonia? How critical is the enforcement of the electoral code? I'm seeing 3 questions here in this point of discussion at a stretch, and Barrister will crave your indulgence to give us an enlightenment and speak to us concerning this stuff. Over to you, Barrister.
Yeah. Thank you once more. Thank you once more for having me. See, the talking. Are you getting me? Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, we are getting you.
Are you getting me
We
now?
are getting you. We are getting you 5 on 5. We are getting you.
Okay. I was trying to say that this talking point is calling me upon me to probably discuss the role of money in an emerging Ambazonia. First, we have to understand that there's a general principle. Say where money comes in, sometimes money spoils things. But we Ambazonians and the future Ambazonian government, we are not against money. We're not against rich people. We're against how you use your money, you have it, and how you got the money to be using it the way you use. And so, what is the role of money? Let me look at what we have in our Republic of Cameroon, our neighbor. What is money? How do you get money? There are 3 different classes of people who have money in our society right now. There are government created rich people. Government gives you money. They create a budget here for you. And you use it the way the government wants you to do it. That is money. There's a category of people, self-made individuals, who progress in their own right to make money. They buy and sell things. They say something and they make money out of it. Then there is a third class of people who government does not give money to. They don't say anything, but they have money. These are people who stockpile money in their rooms. They put money everywhere. Enter the house, you see billiards. And so that is all money. How do you use it? Let me take the first class of people who are made rich by the government, deliberately or inadvertently. You have mentioned Dampulu, for example. Yes, Dampulu is a rich man, but how did he get his money? How did he get his money? These are secret and people government created to give them money. For example, the money Dampulu made from the sale of Toleti, that was government property and gifted to him for nothing. Yes, he might have drawn from there to establish everything, but that's ill-gotten money from the state. They become one of the richest people in the world. We shall not forget that he got it from the backs of the poor Toleti harvesters. It's important to know those who were in Toleti. They were all mothers harvesting tea. They lost everything that they could get, their pensions, their retirement benefits, because the CPDM gave the thing over to Mr. Dampulo. And so, do you expect to compete with Dampulo now? Is that money morally justifiable? No, absolutely not. The second person you want to mention is we just lost a man called Mr. Nifrundi. Nifrundi that I know was never a very rich man from the beginning. Yes, it's a BB bookshop that sold less than 500,000 a year. But by the time Nifrundi died, he became a rich man. He was able to build houses in Commercial Avenue. He owned ranches all over the country. What was Frundi's employment? What was he doing? How did he get the money? What was he selling? What was he being paid for? It was nothing other than bribery. He was paid to do the bidding of government in the name of politics. And so, that is morally unacceptable today and will be the same tomorrow in Ambazonia. Then, we'll come to the third class of people, those who hoard money. You see, central banks that mint and send out money, they know the quantity of money they send out. Money is not just sent out for nothing. When you take money, like most Cameroon ministers and big people do, like you saw in Gabon, and fill it in your rooms. Fill rooms upon rooms upon rooms with cash, money. What are you doing with that money? How useful is that money? Money is only useful when it is in circulation. If you took the money you stole, instead of keeping in your back room, you open a bank, for example. Somebody will go into that bank, get a loan to build a house. If the guy gets 20 million to build a house, what is he going to do with 20 million? He's going to buy cement. He's going to buy iron rods. He's going to employ a carpenter. He's going to employ a blacksmith. And the money will circulate. If you paid, the blacksmith will pay 20,000, the carpenter 50,000. The money will circulate. And therefore, will have value. But when you take money and put it in your room, lock it up there, you don't know what to do with it. It is no longer money because it's no longer scarce. It's not in circulation. Then by holding the money in your room, you reduce the circulation of money. If the money is not in circulation, the community becomes poor. Should this happen in Ambazonia? No. I'm not sure that we have richer people in Cameroon than we have in the United States, or in France, or in England, the UK, or in Canada. But you're not going to find anywhere in the United States where somebody keeps billions in his house. You're not going to find that in London. You're not going to find it in Paris. There should be a law that limits how much money you can keep in cash. Money must be deposited in the banks. Banks are secured houses approved by the state to hold money, to sell money, to loan money, and to exchange money. That's the role of banks. And because they are selling and buying money, people go there for services. The community benefits. A bricklayer who builds a house, and able to get some money, to feed his wife, pay his children's school fees. A carpenter who works for you might be able to buy his own plot and employ somebody to build for him. And so the money is constantly in circulation. And so that is where the Dampolos fall. That is where the attack, the new Fundi fall. And there are many of them. They're just examples that we're giving here. And then the last on this particular segment talks about an electoral code. Should we enforce the electoral code? I think that's a very broad, generalized question. You cannot answer that question in the negative or positive. Why? Because first, to talk of enforcing an electoral code, there must be an electoral code to enforce. For example, all the countries that we have today in the world, Cameroon, Gabon, they have electoral codes, but they are designed for them to win elections. So if we just talk about enforcing electoral codes, we are going to enforce what those in power want. There is no longer an electoral code. They are not fair codes. So to talk about enforcing electoral code, there must be an existing acceptable electoral code for us to enforce. And so in Ambazonia, we're not going to have electoral code which is going to be manipulated by a few to remain in power perpetually. Electoral code should be grounded in the constitution, acceptable to all, fair to competitors, and open to everybody. And so that is as far as I can say with the electoral code. And as far as I can say with the money in politics. Rich people, poor people, they will always be the rich and the poor. But Ambazonia is not against the rich. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for very much. What's going on now? All right. Thank you for that. I want to call it extensive and down to earth explanation for an average Ambazonian to understand what Ambazonia is looking forward to being. Now we'll cross over to discussion point number 2, which is money can buy allegiance and it can also corrupt those in power. Can you tell Ambazonians the importance of having campaign financing laws and an ethics code on giving and receiving gifts? Over to you, Dr. Tom.
Yes, thank you, Professor Commander. Well,
Dr. Tom, we cannot hear you.
as
Check you have muted yourself.
hello? No, I'm unmuted.
Dr. Tom, your
Hello?
microphone. Oh.
My
Okay, go
microphone
ahead.
is actually
We can hear you.
okay.
Yeah, we can get you. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yes.
Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. Well, talking about the importance of money, we should talk about other things. The integrity of the person, how trustworthy a person should be, how accountable a person should be. If a person's moral fabric is very loose or corrupt, I mean, somebody who has been used to cheating, stealing money, taking bribes, handing out government contracts in exchange for favors, which, by the way, we say that is like conflict of interest. Conflict of interest in something that, I mean, that you do or you allow to happen, that hampers your objectivity, your impartiality as a government official, like doing favoritism to others in exchange for some gifts, or because they are your relatives, or because they are your acquaintances. So all of that we are trashed earlier. on conflict of interest. So somebody who morally has been can be proven to have led such a life when holding be it a government position or a position somewhere else in the private sector. Such a person is easily won over. A person who is greedy, a person who never has enough, is easily corrupted by money. Not only money, but gifts and some services that can be awarded to such persons. So yes, when you are in a position of power, and especially in the financial sector, we know back home in Ambazonia, which has been an unholy partner of La République for 60 plus years, and many of us have adopted such terrible vices. We know that being in government, and especially being there where money is, taxation, custom, in the financial department, the national treasury, then that is a sure way to really enrich yourself, because that's where money passes. And many people know it's an unwritten law that, people are sent there to go and enrich themselves once they are appointed. So, because there are rules, quite all right, in Ambazonia, in La République on paper, but they hardly get enforced. That's why you see people holding official positions, being greedy, enriching themselves, and even the judiciary, which has to see into such things, the police who have to arrest such people and then bring them to court, all of them, they profit from that. They can be bribed. They are also wanting their share of that money. So that is something that really, really can corrupt leadership, really corrupts leadership. We witness that every day in La République. Those of us who, when they go back home, for me, since 7 years in exile, and I don't care the next 7 years being in exile for fighting for the independence of Southern Cameroons, but I'm quite sure it will not take 7 years again. It will take a shorter time for us to get back there. So those are the things that corrupt power. Money really corrupts. And what do we do against that? It's not something new that we will have to invent. It has been done in Southern Cameroons in the 50s, in the 60s, during the time of our first leaders, Ndele, Foncha, Joa, as recounted to us by late Pa Molanjo Litumbe, that those holding office, holding public office, it doesn't matter what amount what amount of money you misuse or you steal, you account for it, and you are disciplined very, very strictly, and your name put out in the newspapers for all to see, and you be shamed, so that to serve as an example that people should not tamper with public property, be it money or equipments or whatever. So morality ran very, very high in an autonomous Southern Cameroons in the 50s and the 60s, and that's exactly what we intend to institute in the future independent Ambazonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Ambazonians, we are getting back to what had happened before we got a mixed multitude who had no morals and so dropped out into this dilemma in which we are facing today with some Ambazonians. After this very brief musical pause, we are conquering and we are victors. We'll get back into the third segment of our discussion after this musical pause. Thank you very much. We are champions, and that is where ethics is taking us to, because we are champions and we must remain to be champions, taking us back to where we were. Corruption came to make us to be struggling right now. All right, our discussion point number 3, it is said that where morality fails, the state collapses. Do you agree to this? Strong institutions make a strong state or government. What makes institutions strong? This is over to you, barrister, to educate us and to instruct us. The microphone is yours.
Oh, okay. I think I will rephrase it this way. Where morality fails, the community collapses, not necessarily the state. Because the state is a bigger form of the community in which we live, starting with the individual family, to your villages, to your tribe, and to your.
Oops.
You see, we have ethical rules written down that govern us. But the majority of the rules of morality and ethics are not written, they are ingrained in you. So it's not very ethical thing that is written down. For example, the way you speak to me, rudely or politely, is either ethical or unethical. There's no law written somewhere that talk to somebody politely. There's no law saying that when I say good morning to you, you must say yes, thank you, sir, or thank you, brother. That's just being ethical. And so, if there's no ethics in the community, the society fails. I take it up to governance. If there's no ethics in governance, the government fails and the state fails. The state collapses in the face of unethical behavior, of moral bankruptcy. And we've seen this happening around us, everywhere in Africa. How much does it cost to tell a lie? Almost nothing. But as a state, the person who lies is important. If the head of state, the president, is a liar, just lies, nobody will believe in him or her. And therefore, that function of the president or office you hold becomes bankrupt. Because nobody believes anything that you say. If government ministers become liars, they become adulterers and adulteresses, they fall people's wives, they do all that. Who will believe in them anymore? Absolutely nobody. And therefore, that ministry, that department that you hate, will collapse. Today, for example, who believes in the Ministry of Finance in Yaoundé? The minister that will employ people, call them teachers, for example, that we see now, and they never pay them. And yet, there's a budget for paying teachers. They're in the budget. Why not paying them? And you sitting there, the minister, the governor, the director, you're having pay. And you're forcing teachers to go and work without pay. And when they don't want to go, you threaten them. That's moral bankruptcy. You threaten them with arrests, queries, demand explication. What do they need to explain? They are not going to work because you're not paying them. Even a volunteer needs money to pay to go to the volunteer service. And so it is morally bankrupt to think that you can live in society without morality. Is there anybody who will go and prosecute the Minister of Finance, for example, for not providing for the teachers? No, nobody's going to prosecute him or her. And so what happens? We have seen as it's going on now, even the schools that they have are collapsing. Yes, they get money for schools to be built. Nothing was built. Nobody's being prosecuted because some of the people are too big to be prosecuted because they control the system. And so where the morality is not there, the society eventually collapses. I talked in my first segment about people stocking money in their houses. Who can justify that? Who will believe when your government minister comes to visit in the village with 20 bucks of money for you to buy sardine, for you to do what you want? There's no longer money. The morality behind money has collapsed. And therefore the society will feel nobody will trust you anymore. And so for governance and for those of us in position of authority, we must make sure that morality is met there to strengthen the society. And so without it, nothing will work. And so that, that is this. For our leadership in politics, our leadership in governance, there must be morality to bring it, to make people reliable, because people do what they want, believing that in return they will get what they are promised, without which there is no meaning in doing anything called government. No government without morality, no morality without government. And so that is what that uh, that segment takes us to. And so without the morality of society, we would all lose. And so he goes on to say, strong institutions make a strong a state or a government that makes institutions strong. You have to put up institutions. Institutions in government are things that people rely on them eternally. We don't make strong people because people will pass, they will die, they will retire. Even the most powerful guy will die, but the institution will remain. Again, look at what is going on in La Republic, where we were supposed to be part of it today. What is the need, for example, having a government department? They have so many government departments, 60 ministries, that nobody is doing anything. Let us take school. This is the beginning of the school year. In every county, call it a division, they have a delegate for education, be it primary or secondary. Schools are not working. They are not going to the delegate to find out what his department is not working. They are going to a certain man called the sous-prefect or the prefect. He went to Inam. That guy has no idea about how schools function. He has no idea. Teachers are going on strike. He is there, person of the water. He has no idea about teachers teach. Teachers are not going to school. They found the prefect or the sous-prefect getting a cutlass to go and clear grass. Who believes in that sous-prefect anymore? You think that the school is not going on because grass is growing there now? Grass has always grown in compounds, school campuses when we're on holiday. When they come back, the grass is cleared. So we'll create institutions that don't work, that have no meaning to us. Again, on a larger context, if you don't have strong institutions, there's no need creating them. In Cameroon, for example, we have something called Parliament, l'Assemblée nationale and Senate. I'm an old man, and I've been here since 1960. I've looked at Parliament. I've never seen a single law that Parliament has ever passed. All their laws, if they pass any one, emanate from the presidency. It's the president who gives the laws. So what's the essence of Parliament if they will never pass any law? They have never initiated a single law for the past 60, 70 years. So what is it getting people called parliamentarians who sit there, who understand that the role of Parliament is to pass laws? They have never passed any law. Even when they adopt what comes with the presidency, there will always be a clause there. This law being adopted shall be complemented by a presidential decree. A presidential decree. Then what do you need Parliament for? If you cannot pass laws, if you cannot initiate laws, you have created an institution They have so much money to spend. You pay them so much money, and they are doing nothing. You create a council. There's something we call councils. Water is flowing all over the country, all over Dimbe, all over Ambazonia, and people have no water to drink. People have no water to drink. Why? Why? Why create a council? When the people don't have the water, what do? They don't go to the mayor, they go to the DO. The DO say, oh, no water. And yet water is flowing through the town. There's no toilet. You go to the DO, no public toilet, nothing. The DO himself has no toilet in his house. Then what is the role of a council? You create a council for what? If they cannot provide these basic things like water. Is it difficult to provide? No. In the 60s, for example, I remember, in Seoul, they had their water supply. That was the work by the people. They drank the water. They didn't pay for it. In Tico, that I know very well, there were three water sources in Tico. There was CDC water, there was Snake, there was community water. In the same town, water, the rivers are flowing there, and people have no water to drink. And yet there's a council. What is the essence of the council if they cannot do all this? And so you create institutions that have no meaning, absolutely no meaning. They are weak institutions, overtaken by strong men. Again, I just saw something on Equinox. Somebody is banning, the governor is banning the publication of a newspaper in Cameroon. What's going on? Are you still getting me? Are you still getting me? What is going on?
We get you, Brother Sir. Now we get you.
Are you getting me? I was saying that we create institutions that have no meaning and they are taken over by strong men. We should be the reverse. We should have strong institutions, not strong men. An institution is an institution that lasts beyond the individual. And so the institution will stand while the individual will pass away. We don't create a presidency for Paul Biya. We don't create a presidency for President Sako. Now, we create a presidency, and Mr. Paul Biya serves there as a servant of that institution. And President Sako serves there as a servant of that institution. We create a ministry, and the individuals serve there as servants of the ministry. The ministry has a vision. And so those are institutions that should be strong, not individuals. I was trying to give the example. In Cameroon, we saw a governor banning the publication of the Post in the Southwest. What's the role of the governor in the publication of newspapers? There's a whole organ that deals with it. But we have these governors, we have these prefects, who are just everything. Just because they went to India. They are jack of all trade and master of none. So in summary, in the future Ambazonia, we should have strong institutions. Institutions that will regulate the people who serve the institutions, not the reverse, not the individuals reversing the role of the institutions and becoming the institutions themselves. President Paul Biya has become the presidency, no longer the president. Just individual ministers for 20, 30 years, they become the ministry, no longer ministers. And so, in the future Ambazonia, we will get strong institutions and individuals who serve the institutions. We'll come to that when we deal with the Constitution in the next segment. Thank you.
Wow. Very clear. No comment. Institutions, not individuals. The individuals are now stronger than institutions in La République du Cameroon. It was not so in Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon as it was called, and it will not be in Ambazonia. Institutions will be stronger than any strong man. Because when a man is stronger than an institution, there is no need for that institution. So all the La Republica councillors, mayors, parliamentarians, and this thing, they are just there to chop their money and keep quiet, while there is a strong man that gives orders. No comments. All right, we are going to cross over. Can you emphasize on the importance of accountability, transparency, and freedom of information in the sustainability of strong institutions? Doctor, that's your portion. Educate us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that question. Well, I mean, I would say I'll go back to my own history, how I entered this revolution at all. I mean, back in the days when we used to be in secondary school and started to learn about history, the crooked history, La Republique taught us, knew nothing about 1st October, 1st January, which is the independence day of La Republique that they never celebrated, and 11th February, which was like plebiscite day, was being celebrated, 20th May as Youth Day, whatever. We never knew, we had no clue about our history. We knew every 1st October, there were some people who agitate, they would say SCNC and all that, we would say, but who are those people? I mean, we are a very peaceful country, only one of two bilingual countries speaking English and French, apart from Canada. I mean, I'm very happy with this peace. Let those people not come and cause problems there. Later did we know those were the champions of our history, our true history. And we were hearing about people like Albert Mokong and his book, Prisoner Without a Crime. We knew them as agitators, people who, I mean, were just looking for trouble. So we had been brainwashed into not knowing who we were, where we were coming from, that Southern Cameroon was once autonomous, and we were promised this crooked independence by joining, which led to this unholy alliance. So back then in 2016, 2017, as it all started and we were demonstrating everywhere here in Germany and all across the world, I mean, we made friends, and then there was the defunct ABC TV, which was hijacked by some coup plotters. And then we started knowing about that Southern Cameroons existed at all, and learning about the history, our history. So we were a group of friends, because it was some few people, and we were so happy to join this revolution, this independence quest. So all across the world, it must have been similar. Group of friends coming together, knowing each other. We are from Southern Cameroons. We used to be autonomous. Independence was promised us, given, and then stolen. And 2017, it was restored. So that's how it like all started. But with time, as an avalanche, it grew, and the movement becomes stronger. And in every country, practically, and every region in the world, there were Southern Cameroonians who were constituted, and then we moved into counties, LGAs, and all that. So when you have such an avalanche, such a massive coming together of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people for an independence quest, you need rules governing people. It's no more man, no man, or I get along with this person or with that person. I might not like you, you might not like me, but we must work together. And it is those rules, our interim constitution, our Ambazonian code of conduct, ethical code of conduct from the Ethics Commission, and all that govern us. And they see to it that we, especially those who hold leadership position, that they are not there to be like strong individuals, but they hold an office. And that office, you have to be accountable to those who put you into that office. And there are qualities to display to be eligible for that office. You have to be transparent. When you say yes, it is yes. You say no, it is no. And you have to be open to people. You have to give some feedback to them about what you are doing on their behalf. You are serving the people, not the other way around. So you are accountable to everybody who elected you into that office, and even to those who did not elect you into that office. Provided they are Southern Cameroonians, you're accountable to everybody because we are the interim government of the people. Also of those who do not recognize us as the people's interim government. We are one interim government, which is there. So to have leadership position, there are things that are necessary. Being transparent, as I talked about, and then being accountable to your people. Those are qualities that, of course, are lacking, seriously lacking in La République, which explains the chaos that is there and what we've learned from them, all those vices, and what we now have to discard. And then there is also to be, transparency, accountability, and freedom of information passed on to the people about themselves, about the governance, about the country that is there. I mean, we take the case of La République that we've been with for the past 60-something years in an unholy alliance, independence by joining. I mean, what a terrible term from the United Nations, which led to all this calamity we find ourselves into now. That is a government which distorted our history, hid our history away from us, and now that our eyes are open and we broadcast that history 24/7 on various TV stations, the mouthpiece of the revolution being the ABC Amber TV. Now that has become our death sentence, and especially for those on home front. So that information that was hidden, distorted from us, our true history, that we were once autonomous, we had two changes of a change of government. Power changed hands from our first Prime Minister Endele to our second Prime Minister Foncha, even before La République became independent on 1st January 1960. We never knew all of that. There used to be in La République, in their western province, the UPC people who were for real independence and wanted France to get out the next day. They won the elections, but it was taken from them, and they were declared persona non grata, terrorists, and with the support of their puppet master France, La République under Ahidjo chased them and massacred them. And so at the time in the late 50s, they came to seek refuge where? In southern Cameroons. We were autonomous, and La République could not cross that boundary that we had. The boundary that they had on 1st January 1960, which according to African and international law, their boundaries were frozen on their independence day, 1st January 1960. So we Southern Cameroons were autonomous. They could not cross over to get those people. So they sought refuge by us. So that's all those La République people from the Western province who are with us now, who, are practically a part of us. So that's all. And only as SDF was launched in 1991, did all that information come out, that those UPC people, they are not actually what they call so-called maquisards, headquarters, and terrorists that we used to jubilate and say, yeah, the police caught them, let them be tried and thrown into prison for wanting to disrupt such a beautiful bilingual country, the Republic of Cameroon. And only then did we know that those were true freedom fighters, belonged to the UPC, and that party came out again after the bold launching of the SDF party, which, well, I mean, derailed from its original goal of being a party to force to push through the independence of Southern Cameroons. So all that information came out now, but people had to die, people had to riot, they had to kill people for all that to come out. And now, today, for our Southern Cameroon's history, for all these facts to come out, our people have to be dying on a daily basis, over 50,000 killed and still being hunted down and killed right now as we speak, and us being in exile here because of that information, free flow of information that is there now, and everybody knows about it, and they can't take it back. So they will have to kill us, all of us, to the last man standing, to wipe that information off. As this revolution started 7 years ago, what did they do? They blocked the internet in southern Cameroons, but the message still got out. And here we are today talking to the powers that be and our president and his staff, especially the Department of Foreign Affairs, having diplomatic exchanges with many, many world powers of late in the US, going right up to representatives from the White House and the Black Caucus, the various committees in the U.S. Congress that have spoken with our president, President Samuel Ikome Sako, as the president of Southern Cameroons. So all this information is out there. Southern Cameroonians should know that is freedom of information, which has to be there. So for leadership in Ambazonia, there is this accountability, transparency, accountable to those who elected you, because it is by their yes or no vote that you are in that office, and to be transparent, to be honest, and to allow the free flow of information, not only dictating, talking down to the people, but getting feedbacks and then acting accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is what we shall go back to have: accountability, transparency, and sustainability of strong institutions in Ambazonia. We are not going to allow the mediocrity of La République du Cameroon, and we are putting an eye right now as we are moving towards Boya. All right. Before we conclude, let's go ahead on our point of discussion today and have discussion point number 5, and it says, we know that constitution evolves to address current challenges, but there are two things that must remain constant: the basic natural law and the involvement of the masses in every due process. On this note, how will you advise those who will be drafting the Ambazonian constitution? Over to you, barrister. Microphone is yours.
Okay, again, thank you very much. So we have to start with a constitution. The constitution is defined as the basic law of the group, a country, a community. That's their basic law. which addresses almost everything that involves them. It is the community, how they sit, how they eat, how they farm, how they do that. It regulates that for the moment and for the future. And so a constitution does not evolve now. It doesn't evolve to address current issues. No. It is meant to address current issues and to stand the test of the future problems that might come. That's absolutely important. And for it to do that, the putting up of the constitution should involve almost all segments of our society: the educated, the uneducated, the farmer, the trader, the teacher, the fisherman. This does not mean that you have to go and bring every fisherman from the creeks to consider and make a constitution. No. It does not mean that you have to go and bring every farmer from Kondenge or from Bafia or Moyuka to consider it. No. If, for example, your constitutional drafting committee has teachers, for example, someone who have taught in those areas, you know the culture of the fisherman, you know the culture of the farmer, you know what they expect to find in the basic law. They would have participated in that constitution. And when you see constitution, it's always good that we talk from experience. The constitution is a solid document and needs solid interpretation, simple understanding of what it is. So everybody who reads that thing can understand. We don't need to go far to find this sort of things that have befallen us. Right now, as far as Ambazonia is concerned, we have what we call the interim constitution. We have an interim constitution. I don't know who those who drew up that thing. But that document, I always thought my heart to those people who drafted, who did it. Take, for example, they put in that interim constitution, for good or for bad, there will be no elections until 3 years after we get to Boya. I don't know, some of them might be dead by now, but they knew what they were saying. Just see what has happened to us. People have attempted to twist the constitution to make their own elections in between. People who can be described as constitutional charlatans, who have no idea about constitutional issues. They have attempted to make elections and see where we are. We have had today some president for life, some for 6 months, some for 3 months. They don't have any basis for it in the constitution. So those who sat down and adopted the constitution, the entire constitution, until we get to Boya, we are not stupid. They are thinking people, thinking hearts drew the constitution. And so a future Ambazonia constitution, the draftees should have inside what is coming tomorrow, the future of Ambazonia. Before they put an institution in the constitution, they have to reflect on how this would affect the future generation. For example, take the American Constitution. There are 50 states. It has remained 50 states forever. But there's a roadmap for creating more states. We are late in the Constitution. If you want to have more states, this is the road to follow. And if you meet this test, we create a state. That's how a constitution should be like. And so, future drafters of our Ambazonia Constitution must be able to see ahead, 50 years, 1,000 years ahead of us. And so, today, this is where we are. For this thing tomorrow, we think this is what should be done. There's provision for amending the Constitution, but the Constitution can be amended every single day, every single evening. Now, it has to stand the test of time. It has to meet the needs of the time and prepare for the future needs of the community for which it is being drafted. When you find, for example, in the American Constitution, they have fixed departments of government. You don't do something in Cameroon, Paul Biya come and create 60 ministries. Mr. Whoever come and create 5. The other one come and create 200. No, that is a failed constitution. The constitution, like, for example, the interim constitution, lay down the departments that should be in the interim government. 7 departments. They are still the 7 departments. You can try to expand, but they are still the same departments put down by the constitution. They were foreseeable. They are predictable. And so A constitution to be valid, it has to address current issues and then prepare for future things. Be proactive to see what will happen tomorrow. Again, a constitution, for example, should provide for people to go to the National Assembly, Parliament. But that's not enough. The only problem you can consider and say, okay, whatever, you send us 20, but you send us 5. No, the constitution should provide in detail. Somebody in the House of Representatives or in the House of Assembly represents so many people in terms of population. If by your own population you can only have one, that's fine. If by your population you have 10, that's fine. It should not be left to a certain man called president who decrees, oh, give me 20 people here, give me 5 here. On what basis? Nobody has an answer. And so that is constitutional failure. We have, for example, in Cameroon today, something constitutional, something they call the constitution, who has no meaning. You put in Article 66, people shall declare their assets. For 20, 30 years, nobody has ever declared assets. So the Constitutional Drafting Committee made a mistake to put that there. Was it there? It is simply put there. People should, serving in public office, should declare their assets. It is not even put there that they should look for a presidential decree to implement it. But today they're looking for a presidential decree because that's the normal way to work, to write down how declaration should be made, how you declare your assets. What a constitution is that? Maybe they can go and ask Mr. Paul Aya. Aya was in Parliament in 2008. And he declared his assets. He didn't need a presidential decree. He took a piece of paper and said, I have a house here, I have a house here, what this, I have a house, what this, and put it in there. And so a constitution for a future ambassador must be such thing that is understandable by everybody, is predictable for the future, it addresses the issues today, for the people who are there, and for the people of tomorrow. That would be my advice to those who will draft that constitution. Again, for it to be a good constitution, it should involve people with all walks of life, from all walks of life. Farmers, teachers, professors, doctors, lawyers, everybody should contribute something. And of course, it has to be approved by the people through a referendum or some kind of consultation. That the people say, yeah, we like this document, we accept it. It becomes the guiding law. It becomes the fundamental law that governs everybody, including the strong men. The strong men should abide by the Constitution. The weak should abide by the same Constitution. We shall not make a Constitution that the strong man will own it, interpret it the way they want. The weak person will be kicked out, and the same Constitution will cite it to support whatever criminal deeds are being done. And so that is what a future ambassador constitution will look like. Again, taken to the cure of the same constitution, which are respected. I don't know who did it, but there has been foresight. Academic charlatans, political non-entities who attempted to subvert this interim constitution. So they are realizing that they didn't know what they were doing. For how can they explain till today the very constitution that prevented them from doing something? They have 5 governments, 6 governments, because they wanted to create a document that will fit the strong man. The so-called Restoration Council wanted to satisfy the ego of a few individuals there, including the innocent Komita, who was, feel sorry for him, he never even knew what he was doing. He has himself packed his baggage and escaped.
You call him
And so
innocent
that,
cometa?
I don't know where the rest are. Those who thought that they could do anything, some of them, I know them so well, they're not particularly intelligent people. Even they're intelligent, they're not foresighted. They didn't know what they were doing. Again, I've asked the question, back to it again. What is the solution for the Restoration Council giving Marianta 2 years, well, 6 months? How many months to a person who we don't know? How many months to ABC we don't know? So it's not predictable. Our future ambassador constitution must be predictable, must lay down the rules, firm and fixed, that whoever is put in place has to do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, The Constitution should provide for you to be sanctioned, like we're doing in the United States. They provide for the president to be removed, even sent to jail. They provide for audit. If you steal the money, they catch you, you go to jail, or you pay a penalty. If you break the ethics, there are rules there all in the Constitution that govern all those things. That's what a future Ambazonia Constitution will look like. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. I do not know some of these our Ambazonians. I don't know what's actually wrong with them that when they hear such prospects of a country that is going to be like where, especially where some of them are, even though they have left the dungeon and the grip of La Republique upon them and gone out to see a society that is free and fair, they still try to do some very unscrupulous things like Eric Tato, of which La Republique has presented to their population as one of the victims of the terrorists of Ambazonia, which is very much unfortunate, very unfortunate that a nation like that will be telling lies out of where it's not supposed to do. All right, let's get down to our sixth and last talking point, not the least. What qualities should Ambazonians require from those who will be signatories to contracts, agreements, and treaties on their behalf? Dr. Tom, the microphone is yours to lecture us on this subject matter. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Commando. Well, we are Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, a nation, a country with a government, with a flag, with an anthem, with three arms of government, with a population, with institutions, strong institutions. And when going to sign any contract or enter into any agreement on behalf of Ambazonia, know you are not doing it for yourself or for your group of friends, for your cronies, for those who like you, or those who follow you, but for this government, the government that has an institution, three arms of government, and that everybody, be you an elected official or appointed or commissioned to do something on behalf of the Ambazonian nation, that know that you will be held accountable for what you are doing. So while getting into contracts or any agreements, you know that that government of the people is behind you and you are following the constitution, the interim constitution. Well, I mean, we don't have to go far to see cases of things which have gone bad and which have been terribly done by so-called leaders in our revolution who do not respect such rules, like our former um, um, TV anchor person and the Secretary of State for Information, claiming he brought a deal to President Sako, which turned out, I mean, that is those are some trumped up charges, or he went ahead to do certain things, and when it backfired, he tried to put the president's name into it. All that was cleared up, and together with some former cabinet members who went into some deals that did not go well because they were going in as individuals, not respecting the constitution. and every other people were cleared from any wrongdoing. So those are the things that happen in our revolution and continued to happen, or some certain group going on to sign to make an alliance with Biafrans and claiming it's in the name of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, well knowing there is an interim government not contacted. So that is just buffoonery, and we saw such a thing flew into their faces. So those are people who do not respect the terms, our interim constitution, the rules that you have to play by if you are representing the people. And you have to be sent by that people, by their elected, appointed government, which is the people's interim government led by President Samuel Ikome Sako. So people can stand out there and then claim, oh, I'm doing this for Ambazonia, I'm doing that for Ambazonia, but whereas they are doing it for themselves or their groups. I will take one concrete example here in Germany. There used to be this group calling itself AIPC, which was somehow they were claiming they were doing some diplomatic work, openings, meeting governments and dignitaries all across the world. So I asked, well, I mean, when will that be channeled to the interim government, to President, to the presidency, to President Sako? I say, yeah, I mean, we are doing it for Ambazonia. That man there, we don't know what is happening. I said, So my eyes started opening. I said, well, I mean, there is the institution that we all adhere to, whether you like it or not. The absolute majority has decided it is that way. And anything you do for Ambazonia, you have to have the blessing of that government, which represents the people. If not, it would be null and void. You would be doing it for yourself. And it turned out it was the case. I mean, they were just a department of a group created by Milan Atam, who up till then had done a good job for this revolution, but of late, I mean, we don't hear about him. I mean, you ask me, I don't know where he is, but all I know is he is not out there vociferous for the interim government of the people, which has achieved so much. So you see that things come out when you go to do things, claim it is on behalf of the people, but you leave the representative of the people aside, and the interim constitution and the code of conduct, ethical code of conduct aside, and want to do your things, that thing will not go well. It's already doomed to fail, because the very people you want to do that thing for did not send you in the first place, and you are not answerable to them. So any person wanting to enter into any agreement, signatures, to sign any deal on behalf of Amazonia has to be somebody who is accountable to that government, that people he is representing, who is trustworthy, and who follows the rules as they are supposed to be followed. If not, no matter what good, the good you do for Ambazonia is defined by whom you do it for. We all work selflessly for all of Ambazonia, not for our personal benefits or for our group for self-aggrandizement. We work for people who, cannot thank us. Some of them are out there in the bushes. Some are there defending their lives as we speak. Some might even be dying right now. They will never have the chance to thank us. Those are the people we are working for. So whatever you are doing, think of that and not just claim, oh, I'm doing it for home front or for I'm dealing directly with them. No, there is a representative of Ambazonia, which is the interim government, the executive arm, and you will have to pass through that structure to legitimize your doings and to make it fruitful for all Ambazonians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for again telling Ambazonians what qualities
Maybe
should
Barrister has something to add
Ambazonians
to that.
require from those who will be signatories to the contract and other businesses that will be happening in Ambazonia. We are very grateful. Now, before we enter into the last segment, not the least segment of what we have today, may I again bring to you this musical pause that tells us we are champions. And if you know you are a champion, let's just listen for a while.
Let's celebrate together. Come join me, praise now. Let's jubilate together. All the champions and senior in here, everybody and senior in here, and senior in here. Let's go. All the champions and senior in here, everybody and senior in here, and senior in here. We are champions.
We are champions. Yes, we are champions. And that's why, as champions, we are preparing ourselves for a great, great nation. I love what Barrister Tim said, that it is the morality of a community that fails before it affects the entire nation. And the morality of a community starts from a family before it spreads into the institutions, and then the whole place is corrupted. We shall make sure that it doesn't happen. Some years ago, I visited South Korea, and I was in a particular bridge where there were guards in every 10 meters on top of that bridge. And they said that the Koreans are people that are not given to shame, and that if anybody in the family brings shame, they will all agree to drown inside that water. And they have been committing suicide in that water. And so there were guards that whenever a vehicle stops in the night on that bridge, no, they are ready to dive in, because they will drive and come to that bridge and they will ask the whole family to jump into the river. And they will do it because of shame. And so, Ambazonia, we are not going to commit suicide, but we are going to make sure that the names of our families are not brought into shame so as to destroy our community and corrupt the nation. Now, let's go over to what we have here. Ambazonians, we are now switching gears to our Know Your Ethics Code segment. The IG wants Ambazonians to be informed patriots when we have our nation. This Ethics Commission, decided to take the ethics code to the people by reading out a portion of it each time we meet. And so today, we will be reading section 1 and section 4, chapter 1 or paragraph 1 or number 1. I don't know how they rate it in that language. And it says gift and hospitality. An elected member and employees' official duties often bring the elected member and employee into contact with persons and organizations doing business or seek to do business with the government, as well as those conducting activities regulated by various administrative branches. While it is important to maintain contacts with outside groups, it is vital that elected members and employees of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia be seen as being free of any form of bribery or corruption. The offering of gifts and or other benefits to elected members and or employee by individuals or organizations may be or may appear to be an attempt by the outside source to influence a decision which elected member or employee is expected or required to make. Therefore, acceptance of gifts in such situations must be declined. Elected members and employees are called upon to use their best judgment to avoid situations of real or perceived conflict. In doing so, they should consider the following criteria on gifts, hospitality, and other benefits, bearing in mind the full context of this code. Public servants shall not accept or solicit any gifts, hospitality, or other benefits that may have a real or apparent influence on their objectivity in carrying out their official duties, or that may place them under obligation to the donor. This includes, for example, free or discounted admission to sporting and cultural events arising out of an actual or potential business relationship directly related to the public servant's official duties. The acceptance of gifts should be clearly regulated and only permissible if A, and of the minimis or modest value up to a predefined nominal value. B, are within the normal standards of courtesy, hospitality, or protocol. And C, do not compromise or appear to compromise in any way the integrity of the public servant concerned or his or her organization. Where it is impossible to decline gifts, hospitality, and other benefits that do not meet the principles set out above, or where it is believed that there is sufficient benefit to the organization to warrant acceptance of certain types of hospitality, an elected member or employee shall seek written directions from his or her senior official. The senior official will then notify the elected member and or employee in writing whether the gift, hospitality, and other benefits are to be declined, retained by the department. Which department again? By the department donated to clarify, dispose, or retain public servants' concern. In cases where a more sensitive, expensive item is accepted, such as one from a foreign government for cultural or protocol reasons, the item must be surrendered to the respective administration and must not be regarded as the personal property of the elected member and or employee, but rather as the property of the government where possible. An attempt should be made to diplomatically return the gift to the provider. In all cases, and regardless of the value of the item received, elected members and or employees must advise their senior official in writing of any gift or hospitality received, and the item must be listed on a register. The register should list the name of the official receiving the gift or hospitality, the supplier, a description of the item, and its proper value. So this is what is going to happen when it comes to taking and receiving gifts by government officials in the Ambazonian administration. And it is on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that we will ask our guest for today to each give a concluding statement, and we call it quit for today. So over to you, Barrister, for a concluding statement, and then we'll call it quit for today.
Thank you, Pastor Commando. Thank you, viewers. In conclusion, I will only say this. In addition to all these things, it is that we're talking about, something is going on where a lot of distractions. Now it's left and right. That is not unusual. That is part of the human society. When human beings are confronted with difficulties, talk, they lie, they cry, they dance. And so there's nothing new to us. We should be encouraged that people are even talking, because talking is participation. But it's not every dancer who carry the mask. Some dancers don't go to the front, but yet they are still dancers. It is not every crier who carries the blow, the bugle. No, but we're all criers. So in this revolution, one of the ethics we have to abide by is to learn to accommodate even our detractors. So they are doing it out of ignorance, they are forgiving. So are doing it out of viciousness, they will learn for tomorrow. But they must be there. They are just part of the community. Remain focused. Let us move on. In spite of the difficulties, we are succeeding. Morally, ethically, and legally. We have the support of God. We have the support of the human race. We have the support of neighbors and friends. Thank you. Remain focused. Don't mind the distractions that are around you. They will always be there. They are part of the human society. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you, Pastor Commando, for always being faithful hosting this show. It was yet again, a wonderful show today. Sitting between two heavyweights, you and Barrister Tim Beseha, whom I respect very much, with all our barristers here in the forum, who show us what it means to be truly somebody interpreting the law in the face of the realities we are facing, instead of hiding your head in the sun and then pretending not to see anything like La Republic and their enablers do. I will conclude here by informing Ambazonians of today is the 15th. We have exactly 2 weeks to 1st October, our Independence Day, which will be celebrated all across the world. In Brazil, Commando, heading that in the US, in Washington, the president will be there. And here in Germany, in Berlin, the whole of Europe will converge onto Berlin on that day. We are having a whole weekend of festivities. The 29th of September is the arrival of the guests. On the 30th, there is something which is first, which President Sarko has instituted. There is the United Nations Southern Cameroon's Day, where we march with UN flags and banners
On the 30th.
calling upon the UN on the 30th of September, the eve of our independence. We march with UN flags and banners, reminding the UN and the powers that be, including Germany, of our independence that was promised us, granted us, and stolen, and that and on which we say no to recolonization by La République. And on the 1st of October, there will also be a march, a demonstration, and festivities later on. And we'll be having two homegrown artists with us. One of them is Willie de Paris, who has been here on this show a few days ago, a very dedicated Ambazonian, and Ubi Princess. So we'll be having two artists there, and the program is there on all Amba Fora, and we invite everybody in Europe, in Germany to attend, like in the one in Brazil, to turn up massively and support financially, just like the Independence Day celebration also in Washington and everywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it is on this note that we say thank you for all Ambazonians and all our televiewers. Don't forget, tomorrow is 16th, and it is the Federal Capital's drafting for the Federal Capital of Ambazonia, Fako County, and you are all invited. We are champions.
Savannah, to the Midland, and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen, to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM.